Hello and welcome to my Neewer Q4 review video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about this quirky looking light, what it does and why I think this is the future of high powered battery strobes. This thing is amazing. So come on, let's get into it and I'll walk you through it and talk you through it. So before we get into this review, let me just quickly say I have this video broken into chapters, so please do feel free to skip forward to the part you want to watch. So let's quickly pop the box open and see what's inside. To install the flash tube, carefully remove it from the box and line up the red dot on the light with the red dot on the Q4. Then just apply a bit of downward pressure to push the light bulb into the Q4 socket. Jiggling it slightly helps. Then pop in your battery, press the power button, and to unlock the Q4, simply rotate the dial like you are prompted to on screen. You can see the wireless button here, which you can use to switch on and off its wireless triggering. Above that then we have the group button, and every time you press it, it cycles through different groups, from A to E and back again. Next to that you have your menu button, and then you have your mode button. Pressing the mode button cycles the Q4 between TTL, manual and multi, as you can see up on screen. And here you have your high-speed sync button, which you can press to both switch on and off the high-speed sync. Rotating the dial then, when in manual mode, increases or decreases the flash power, and in TTL it adjusts the flash exposure compensation. Again, just press the power button to switch it off. Here we have the mounting bracket that simply just screws onto the base of the flash. And now we're ready for action. So here's some very important background information on how this Neewer Q4 review actually came about. A couple of months back, I started researching high-powered battery strobes, purely because I wanted to buy one myself, because I thought my equipment was just getting a bit old and getting a bit dated. So I started looking, and that's when I came across the Neewer Q4. And I thought, that's a funny looking thing, isn't it? But then I started looking at the spec sheet, and it kind of blew me away. Now, I was seriously considering buying the Neewer Q4, but at the time I just started getting really busy with work, and I thought, look, I don't need to be wasting my time on this stuff right now. I'm going to shelve it for a couple of months, come back to it, look at it again when I have a bit more time and make the right choice in it. But the Q4 was on my very shortlist already. Funnily enough then, a couple of weeks ago, Neewer reached out to me completely out of the blue and asked me would I be interested in reviewing the Neewer Q4. Of course I jumped at this straight away because the Q4 was already on my shortlist and I had been seriously considering buying this strobe. So my response to Neewer was, yes please, when can I have it? I actually had it about 2 days later. in my studio and I started playing with it. I started using it in photo shoots and I've been playing with it quite a bit ever since. And one thing I should point out here too as well is I have already purchased probably 15 plus Neewer products and they're dotted around my studio and I use them on a near daily basis. So I have a lot of respect for the brand. This isn't just something I picked up and I thought, oh, that'll do. So why pick the Q4, Kieran? Well, I wanted the Q4 because it's a high-powered 400 watt strobe. And also, it has a high-capacity battery, which will give you 400 full-power flashes. So the battery is fairly substantial. It's a 2.8 ampere hour, 21.6 volt battery. Now the other massive selling point in this light for me is the fact you can use it on mains too as well. There's a mains adapter coming with it, so I can literally just pop this open. That's on the battery itself. I can plug it in here, and if I'm not using it, it'll actually charge the battery, or if I'm using the flash, it will actually power it via mains. That's massive. The next thing then is it has an inbuilt 30 watt modeling light. This is a 30 watt LED modeling light, so this is super bright and it comes with 3 different settings. So what I'm going to do is just switch it on, press the power button, rotate the dial to switch it on, and there's a button down here for the modeling light. So it's quite clearly off there now at the moment, but if I press the button once, it'll switch it on, and it switches on proportional. I've set this on 1/4 power, so that's a quarter brightness. And you can see how bright that is. I'm just looking at my monitor off screen, and that is crazy bright there now. If I turn up the power even more, that's full output now out of the modeling light. But the next option we have is if I press the very same button again, and then you have the 10% output mode, which is incredibly handy, especially if you're trying to sculpt the light around textures or product or around people, trying to get nice shadow detail, and especially when you're using diffusion too as well, if you're just trying to get your shadows just right, just to highlight a person's features or texture in a product, as I say, that is incredibly handy. And one more press of the button, and it's off. The next really handy feature of this light then is a Bowens Mount. So if I just press the release button here and tilt that, out she pops. So you can see you have your regular Bowens mount on this unit. So what that means is there are a massive amount of diffusers readily available for this unit. There's also a wireless receiver built into the unit itself, so you can use something like the Neewer Q4 wireless transmitter and you can control it remotely. And the Q Pro and also the Q4 has 5 available groups and it can work across 32 different channels. Then you also have the ultra fast recycling time of 0.01 of a second to 1.2 seconds, depending on your output power. What I found with the Q4 is if you're using this in studio and if you want to fire off, let's say 5 or 6 photographs over the space of 2 or 3 seconds, then you can set it to 1/16 power or lower and you can easily do that. The Q4 can also shoot at up to 1/8000 of a second in high-speed sync, which is going to help you completely overpower sunlight, which is something I'm going to show you later on. The Q4 is also compatible with both Nikon, Sony, and Canon TTL systems. I've been trying this on both my Z7 II and my Z8 now for the last few weeks, and it's worked flawlessly for me. This all brings us nicely to the price. And now this is the really good part. The Neewer Q4 is incredible value for money. To give you a relevant example, here in Ireland right now, if you were to buy the Godox AD400 Pro, which is a similar spec model to the Q4, it would cost you around €700 delivered to the door. Whereas the Neewer Q4 is €520. But Neewer have also been kind enough to give me a 20% off discount code. Yes, you can actually get 20% off that price, which brings the price down to roughly about €433 or something along those lines. To be able to buy this light for €433 is completely criminal. It really and truly is. And oh, by the way, that Neewer discount code too as well, I'm going to leave it in the description down below. That works and gives you a discount off all the Neewer products, and it works worldwide, so I'm told. I posted my blog post review on the Q4 about a week or 2 ago, And ever since then, I've gotten quite a few emails and a few DMs too as well. People asking me, Kieran, what should I buy? The Godox AD400 Pro or the Neewer Q4? And let me just summarize the differences between the two of them. Other than the fact that the Neewer Q4 is actually €250 cheaper than the Godox AD400 Pro, the Q4 will give you 400 full power flashes. The AD400 Pro will only give you 360. So that's 40 more full power flashes in the Neewer Q4. The Neewer Q4 can also be mains powered too as well, so you can power that via mains if you're shooting in the studio. The Godox AD400 Pro needs a special mains powered adapter in order to be able to shoot on the mains. And that adapter has to be bought separately, and it's about €100. So already this little beauty is already giving us over 10% more flashes per charge. It can be mains powered, and it's €250 cheaper than the Godox AD400 Pro. The crazy thing is we haven't even got to the best part of the Q4 yet. I think the best part of this flash has to be its design. When I got it first, I thought, this is a bit funny. But using it for a while, I started thinking, why isn't every flash like this? This just makes sense. You can hold this up with one hand and it balances. Look how easily that balances with one hand. Look how round that is. That is beautifully round. It's like a camera grip, or it's like a side handle for your camera rig. You can hold that in one hand so incredibly comfortably. That just fits around my hand. It's so smooth. It's texture too as well. It's like a soft rubbery texture to it. And it just fits around your hand perfectly. So a lot of the time you'll be using a camera assistant or pop it onto a light stand. But if you're using a camera assistant, they're going to love the Q4. If you look at the likes of the Godox AD400 Pro and look at the light stand bracket on the bottom, if you try to put your hand around that, firstly, there's no space. Secondly, it's all square and it's chunky. That's going to get very uncomfortable very quickly. But even with this, I can lift this up and hold it like that, and it feels so comfortable in my hand. It really feels like a camera grip. If I were asked, whoever designed the Q4 probably was a camera assistant for a while, or otherwise really thought about this, because this makes absolutely perfect sense. Even when you're using the light, even just being able to switch it on and adjust your settings on the back while you're facing it towards your model or whatever else, that's so incredibly easy to use. And again, it just makes sense. You don't have to turn the light around and look at the side to see what the settings are and then turn it back around along again. I think this is the way all strobes are going to look in the future. And funnily enough, any of the strobes I see now, or the conventional strobes, they actually start to look old-fashioned. I think this is an incredibly clever design. Now, the one thing I haven't talked about yet is build quality. And the build quality of the Neewer Q4 is incredibly good. As soon as you open this out of the box, you wouldn't be 100% certain that it's made out of aluminium or made out of plastic. There's a really solid feel to this item. Now, I wouldn't go droppy it at the same time, but it just really feels a lot sturdier than a lot of the flashes I'm used to. Now, the other thing with it is, there's a bit of weight in this. This is not light, but that high-power battery is going to be part of the reason for the weight. And speaking of batteries, the other thing I didn't tell you is there's also a battery indicator here, so you can press that. 4 indicators come up to give you an idea of the percentage of charge that's in the battery itself. So that's incredibly handy. And you can also buy spare batteries from the Neewer website. Yeah, the build quality in this has been really surprising and incredibly impressive. If you ask me to put a price on this, I would think it would be roughly twice the price that it's actually selling for, which is completely nuts. So I'm going to show you some test shot samples I did recently. I have used this on other shoots, but those shoots are private. I can't show you those photographs. I will be releasing more photographs going forward, but just as of right now, these are the ones I can show you. Now, the one thing you have to remember with all this is they were all shot with Neewer Q4 and they were not bare bulb. I shot these with diffusion and I shot them with the Neewer 65cm parabolic softbox. I'm going to get it for you. This is the softbox itself. So that's going to give you an idea of how big this softbox is. It provides quite a good level of diffusion. It's 65 centimeters. And to say I use this on the Q4 at sunset, firing straight into the sun, and it overpower the sun. That is massive. That is really cool. If you can use the likes of that softbox, just imagine what's going to happen and what's going to be possible with smaller softboxes or shooting bare bulb. So I'm going to pop the photographs up on screen here and I'm going to talk you through it. So here you can see a photograph I took firing straight into the setting sun. The exposure settings are to the side. This was shot at 1/4000 of a second and f2.8 at ISO of 64. So you can see the sun was still very bright. Now what makes this truly amazing is the Q4 was over 2.5 meters away from the model with a 65 centimeter Neewer parabolic softbox on it. And it was only on half power. Imagine how bright this would be if the Q4 was on full power with no diffuser or bare bulb as they call it, and only 1.5 meters away. That just really goes to show how powerful this unit really is. This was a quick shot then I took of my camera assistant holding the Q4 and softbox while we're out in that shoot. And here is a behind the scenes shot where you can clearly see how well the flash is lighting up the model, but even my camera assistant's bright yellow jacket is coming out pitch black because there is no flash hitting her. So it just goes to show the impact the flash is having on the scene. Now as you can see, those photographs are really impressive, considering 65 centimeter softbox shooting straight into the sun. Mind-blowing stuff. I've used the Q4 now on a few different shoots, and I have to say it's incredibly easy to use. It really is so straightforward. Basically, switch on the unit itself, screen lights up, it'll ask you to unlock it. You unlock it just by turning the dial. It's unlocked and then you can just fire away. It's as simple as that. If you're using the remote Q Pro wireless trigger, switch that on. You can set it to TTL or you can set in the flash mode manually too as well if you want, and fire off your shots and that's it, you're done. Switch it off, just press the power button again. Crazily, I didn't even open the book for this unit until I've been using it for 2 days, just to see had I missed anything. It's just so intuitive and so easy to use. So my Neewer Q4 review conclusion, and what do I think of this light? I think this light is incredible value for money. Really and truly incredible value for money. Considering the features, considering the build quality, and considering how easy it is to use. This light just works. And it's quite frankly brilliant. It really and truly is. And the design, I love the design of this light now. Every other strobe I see just looks so old-fashioned in comparison. I think this is the sort of shape and design of studio strobes that we're going to be seeing going forward. By the way, if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask them in the comments down below. And until the next video, see you out there, everyone.